Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. Welcome again to another episode of Outside the Business Box with Chad Murray, a podcast for service entrepreneurs. And so I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors right off the bat. SnapLock, your rotary sweep systems, place to buy your cameras, your tools, anything in the sweep business. And Bare Hands Pro, your premier inspection software for cleaning a chimney. And then you have Rush Profits. He's got his weekly sales videos that he sends out every Monday morning. I suggest you go to rushprofits.com and look at weekly sales videos on the left and subscribe to that. It'll definitely boost your sales and your way of thinking of how you should be looking at your sales in the future and how to train. And so today's topic is I'm going to talk more about how I stepped out of my operations. Some would say I retire. I used to bill that I retired, tell everybody I retired from my business. The fact of the matter is I do such a good marketing of what I've done with my business to other entrepreneurs. The fact of the matter is I never retired. The fact of the matter is I just don't deal with the employees, or I don't deal with the customers anymore. I deal with high level stuff. I don't work a schedule. I do talk to my management team. Golly, probably anywhere from 0 to 20 times a day, in and out between clients or just on a day off or whatever. So it's how do you? So the whole process today is to tell you how I did that and how I operate in today's standard. So first, before we get into it, I got to apologize for last week. I was in a hurry last week, which I typically am not in a hurry, and I missed a couple edits. So if you did not listen to last week's episode, doing that, it was Thanksgiving week, forgive me. You'll hear me going to yell at my kids, yelling to them to get the door for my bulldog lady who was here to clean him and bathe him and wash him and shampoo him and all that kind of stuff. And I forgot to edit all that. It's not that I forgot. I did edit some stuff out and I missed that. So it's kind of a funny blooper in last week's episode, and I do apologize for that. So anyway, I am losing my voice. I have been for the last 3 or 4 days. I guess I talked a lot over the vacation at my cabin. So I don't have my normal strong voice, and I am pushing it through today to get this podcast out. I'm in no hurry though. So anyway, so the topic is what did I do to prepare, implement, and continue to grow and manage my business with or without me there. It was planned, prepped, and executed. So it wasn't an overnight thing. I mean, I had hired. So to start off, obviously you got to find the person that's going to take your place in running the company, your general manager, whether that's growing someone within or finding someone outside. I mean, I never felt that I could find someone outside, because who's going to know the chimney business as we do it, unless I hire them for 2 years and then put them into a deal. So what I did was I actually kind of did it that way, actually. So John, my general manager, I brought him in, and when I did hire him, he was my stepdad's good friend, that they had run a trucking company together. They both had managed this trucking company. It was a huge hub in Dallas of this one Texas trucking company. And so I got to know him as a person, and he became a friend before I ever hired him. And when that trucking company, the owner got sick, and they started to see, things were fixing to happen with that company going under, or be sold or something. My stepdad and John got out and both came to work for me. And I had recognized from John right away that he had the qualities in what I would want for a general manager. So I took, and day one told him, eventually, someday when I'm there and I'm ready, do you want to be my general manager and run the company? And of course, he said yes. And then we would often talk about it. And he worked for me for 5 years before we ever implemented an actual plan for me to walk away. And so we would, I don't know, we would talk about it at times, and we would look, do anything. And one thing that was kind of cool about it is that the type of person he is, he's an all-in company guy. And of course, I didn't know that exactly until he was out in the field and actually working for me. Well, it didn't take long to recognize that he was my man, to run my company. So we periodically talked about it. And then my last year in operations, I had a meeting, took him out to dinner, probably his wife. I don't recall her to dinner. I just remember we did. And I don't remember if his wife and my wife went or if it was just us two, but we talked, and I said, "Are you ready? Of course, I'll train you what I do. Are you ready to do it?" He was all in, absolutely. And so I said, "Okay, my last day is December 31st." And this was probably in February or March. And so he was preparing, to take over the company. And I told him, I said, "Listen, for this to go through, I know he was on my lead tech. He goes, for this to go through, obviously you're going to have the respect from everybody else," which he already had organically gained. But now it's time to actively gain that respect. And so I was always taking off Fridays. So what we did is he came out of the field on Fridays, and he started to just be in the office on Fridays. Now, I gave him zero direction on what to do on Fridays at that time. It was just, he came in on Fridays. I went golfing or at the cabin, or did nothing, or whatever I did. I literally did nothing. I just said, "I'm off. You're working Fridays." And I just told him to run the company. No direction whatsoever. So he'd go sit in my office and he would take calls, and I just kind of let him do that for 6 to 8 months. And obviously I made it a point to only call John to all the employees, and then only John was allowed to call me. And it worked. No one called me, and they all called John. And it's Monday morning or at the end of Friday. The company didn't blow up. Everything seemed to run functionally just fine. And there we go. So I test tried him out. And so come November 1st, we took him completely out of the field, and he was my mirror. And he mirrored me for 2 months. And I got to tell you, kudos to John, because quite frankly, I had no training paperwork for him, no real SOPs other than what we do and just do what we do type stuff. I didn't have any management GM training process. Who does, right? And so take our processes and run with it. What has been an issue for my company, and has really become our company issue, was I was the sales guy. John was kind of the crew guy. So the crews have never been a problem for us. Hiring and training crews to get the job done exactly the way we want it and how we want it done even back when I ran the company, that was never a problem. The work was never a problem. So when we think about that, we really made a little bit of a mistake to not have keeping me involved more with the educators of sales, sweeps, whatever you want to call them. We call them educators, estimators, inspectors. Really keeping a finger on that. Well, come to find out, even before that, even when I ran the company, with me helping everybody, that was how I really ran my sales training, was, give them 3 or 4 weeks, you know, in a truck with someone to watch them how to do it. And then boom, that was it. Which is not exactly the way to do it. We didn't have any formal training. So up until 2021, we never had a good sales inspector, how to inspect the chimney training. And so that's, something we talk about another episode, but that was a big factor that was missing. So anyway, the point of what then I do and did and still do to this day is I really talk to all the managers and keep them accountable and to the level of what we knew at the time. Like, I'm embarrassed of what we were like back when I left the company. Heck, I'm embarrassed from just 2 years ago, a year ago, what we were like. I mean, that's how much growth we've had this year. And so, I mean, and I don't mean growth by money wise. I mean intellectual, training wise growth, culture growth. Everything in our business this year has been growth. So let me expand on what I do back then and what I do now. So back then it was just talk to them, watch the numbers, and we do have a very, very, very good reporting on the weekly numbers. I manage my company by the numbers, by the week, last week, this week, and next week. And so we will be getting into job costing next year, but we do manage, and I can tell you right now, I can tell you what we have up last week, this week, and next week, and how I can manage for profit. So that's something that what we did always to make sure we would hit our profitability numbers and stuff, was that's how we did it. And it was fairly been successful for us until COVID, and we got our literally got our butts kicked financially until this past August. And we had to fix some stuff. But what did I do? Back then, all I did was call up and talk about the numbers and see about how we get more sales on the deal. I didn't really concentrate on a whole lot more. So fast forward to 2021, what does Chad do as a owner of a company that's not in operations? Well, I have really started to manage the management on how we can grow our company with culture, different numbers and new systems, better systems. And as soon as I'm done with this podcast, I've got to do my weekly, everyday chore, that assignment that every one of my managers has to watch and do. And it's a 3 to 5 minute video that I go find on the internet about leadership or something we need to do. And then they have to watch it, and then they get to do and deem, is this something they're going to put in their weekly meetings to the company, or they can choose to or not to. I don't give them anything like that. But what I came up with, since I'm not in the meetings, I wanted everyone to give me a report on the meeting. I want to know what's in the meetings, which is new for us this year. And so I now get a full report on the meeting, and then I get to go through and make my own comments about the meeting of what I think and how I feel that they did. The reason I stay out of the meetings, because I want them to grow their leadership skills and critical thinking skills on their own. If I'm there pushing the meetings, it's just me managing and pushing the company. And it's been pretty resourceful and fun to watch some of their decisions come out of this, how they've disagreed between management and how I've disagreed with some of their decisions. And then we grow from, where we're learning from these disagreements. And so one of my big suggestions here is, if you're working to get out of your business, have your management do a meeting without you. Write up a report on it, and then you go over the meeting notes and see if you like what they're doing. And if you don't like what they're doing, steer them, don't go talk to them. I suggest you get an emailed report, and then you copy and paste the email, and then in red, write your thoughts, good or bad. So that's what I do. I take every thought that I have as I'm reading the report. I copy the report, go up into the reply button, paste it on there, and then in red, make my notes of what I think. And that's how they start their meeting the next day, or the next week, we have 2 meetings a week. And then they go over and review what my thoughts were. And it's really been interesting. And I'll give you a funny one. And I haven't gotten their thoughts on this one yet. They'll have their meeting tomorrow. We didn't buy our 150 sets of gas logs like we do normally a year, a truck and a half of gas logs every year. We didn't do that this year. I just didn't want to get into if we were going to have a bad year with gas log sales and have 50 sets sitting there that I got to purchase in February. I don't want to go purchase, $60,000 or $40,000 check that I've got to write in February like I had to do last year. So I decided to not do a truck for the first time, well, golly, in 12 years. Well, I also, because of this, and I looked at the costing or the profitability of when we send a crew, which is 2 guys out to just install a set of gas logs that the call center sold, to like a new house, let's just say. Yeah, they're in and out within an hour, but the drive time there and back, essentially, you really cannot, you don't make a lot of money off that deal. And to send the guys out for, $250 profit on a brand new chimney, I just didn't want to. So what I did is I raised my prices on gas logs $1,000 just for no reason. Every job, every set of gas logs, I just added $1,000 because I wanted to make more money, and I didn't really want to sell them. The crazy thing is, we've sold more gas logs at $1,000 over market value, market MSRP. It has been insane. Well, I had a neighbor last week call up. I had a inferior educator show up that did not do his job very well, and I ended up getting a message from my neighbor, that he wasn't real happy with what had happened just now, and he wasn't going to purchase from us. So of course, I got on the call and called him and FaceTimed him and made the sale and blah blah blah. Everything went great. Well, I then messaged my team. I said, listen, if we, and I had to call some favors in for that guy to get gas logs in. Well, right now we have, from what I heard, 30 back orders of fireplace gas logs that they're taking a deposit on. And I know that what's going to happen come February or March when we finally get them in, or April, half these people are going to want their money back. I don't want to get into that scenario. So I told the management team, no more gas logs. I don't want any more gas log sales right now. I choose to not sell them anymore. Well, they had it in the meeting, they brought it up, and they overruled me. They want to continue with gas logs. So I wrote in their note, I wrote, instead of calling up and saying anything, I wrote in the note, that's fine. If what we're going to do, if you're going to continue taking deposits for gas logs, when we get them in and pay for them, if the people cancel, it's coming out of your bonus. I haven't heard a reply yet because I don't want to take, $800 deposit, and then come February or March, people go, we don't want them, and I have to start blowing back $800 at a shot at a time. So, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, but see, I also, as you can tell, I give my management team the leeway and the leadership to do stuff, and I will allow them to override me, but there's a consequence if they're wrong. So, so another point to this is I went to a mixed group invite to get into this mixed group this summer, which one of my highest podcasts, actually my number one podcast listenership was during this podcast was, I had said, when I choke, I choke big. Well, I don't even talk much about it, but one of the critiques I heard of why I didn't get into the mixed group is they were concerned that I wasn't really a chimney guy anymore, that I'm more of a business coach, and that I don't really run my company and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really active. And some of the things that when I talk to some of these guys after, about some things that they had said that I needed to be back in my business. Well, so I started making the actions to I kicked my mom out of her office. She only works 2 days a week, so put her out in the call center. And I was going to build an office out of her office for me to podcast in, show people my office, all this kind of stuff. And then COVID hit, so that the office is empty. Yet I never started building the office. And after COVID, I noticed while I was in COVID, other than a personal call from my management team, which actually only got one call from John, the whole time I was in the hospital because my wife had put a "Don't call Chad" out there to the company, and I called John and said, "You can call me, but just run the company. I'll call you when I get out." Type stuff. The 3 weeks I was in the company, I talked to John like 3 days in, and just told him, hey, if you need me, give me a call. Never called. We had 3 weeks of massive sales growth. He ran the company. And I got to tell you, I was scared at one point in time that I was going to die. And I didn't know if I had the faith in my team enough, because we've had just a horrendous last year and a half. And part of the things I accounted for is a lot of stuff that the management did, which is my fault, or didn't do, is more what I want. So I actually made a call to a couple high friends in the industry and said, listen, if I die, and imagine taking this phone call, if I die, I need you to help my wife. And it was, I can imagine being the guy that took that call and like, wow. Well, I mean, and of course they were like, yes, we'll help. If your wife needs us, we'll help and jump in and do whatever you need her to have her business either be sold or run. And of course I said, we probably want it to be ran instead of being sold, but that's, that you can talk with my wife about that. So anyway, but my management ran my company so well in a huge growth time in September. Now, September, normally we're running our business to try to really hire and train, and we lose money every September, right before the fall. It's just terrible month for us. And those guys, we made like, I don't remember, it was like $60,000 profit after paying me. I mean, that was profit. I mean, that was such, and we have done nothing but continue. So I'm not going back to my company. I'm not going back into there to put my office in there. I'm keeping my lifestyle. I still run my management team through our apps, and I still have a big finger on my business. But most people look at me and they think, well, how does he do it? He doesn't have to go to work. And you're right, I don't. I don't go to work. I only have to manage the management, which if you hire the right people and give them the right systems, I literally only have to work an hour a day, if that, at Master Services. And so I'll be working more of ramping up our training process with my sales manager that was on last week, Cody, for our sales training. But other than that, I literally only work probably maybe 3 to 5 hours a week on Masters. I get a great report every week on the numbers. I get a note, an email on all. I get an email on all the different meetings that we had, and I get to critique every meeting and keep them on a path of growth. I honestly used to question, do I need to hire someone in between John and I? And at this point, even though that may be necessary to scale past 5 million, I don't need it. I know he can get me to 5 million, probably 6 million without having to put someone in between us. He's doing that good of a job. Now, what do we do that made it possible for me to do it? So kind of talk to you about the systems that we actually had back then and now. Back then, we had just a perfect great crew system to get the jobs done. They would go out on we would put extra guys to train with guys, and then they would you would not be a crew leader for generally 6 months and really a year before you could get your own truck as a crew leader. We don't have a lot of turnover in our crew leader trucks. We're always looking for more people, but we're only looking for better than what we already have. And we've done that system very well. Like, we have how to do everything verbally, and then we do have videos that the guys watch. But I mean, for instance, on how we clean a chimney, one of the big things that we do is as soon as you're done with the poles, they go outside. You can drop them on the ground and put them on the truck. And it's something that it's part of our process to do it. It's not negotiable, and they are trained to do that. Why do we do that? If you don't have this rule, maybe it's not a big deal. I can't tell you how many employees, and me personally, have been cleaning the firebox after I did the poles, and my foot kicked the poles off the tarp. And I'm talking about, I had 2 tarps. I mean, I'd go up there and my foot would flip and it'd go, and all of a sudden I'd be getting out the carpet resolve and cleaning the carpet. So I made this rule a long time ago from a process that I did myself. I mean, heck, that probably happened year 1. And so, but all these, how we do a mortar ground, how we do it, the guys are trained on how to exactly do everything we do it. And after a year, we know that they're doing it right. They earn their truck. How we do the call center, our scripting. They've got to use the scripts. Now, of course, we have processes with scripts better than we used to have, other than a piece of paper. Now we have an app or somewhere to go that we have it all written out. They click through it. How to build a chimney cap is, they sit there and they learn how to do a chase cover first, and they only get chase covers. Then they learn how to do a base for a hip and ridge or a number 1 flat lid. Then they graduate to the lids, and then they graduate to our better stuff and all that stuff. And they learn how to do the CNC machine. All process that we have that continues going on, that we've held and done for so many years. And honestly, it's not that well documented, but the processes of what we do and how we do it is so verbalized, which we're trying to get this to where it's really, really not verbalized. We do have a handbook. We do have a lot of videos on how-tos there. It's not impressive. It's not like, call me after you read or listen to this and say, hey, Chad, can I get your handbook because you have such a great example. Don't have a great example. We just have the processes of our culture to do it, which I am in the middle of trying to get documented better and blah, 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 better videos and more videos. We did just add an SOP video spot on our Connect Team app that we have, which will graduate now into how we manage the company now. With what apps do we use? Connect Team is your best culture / it does almost everything. You clock in and clock out. It has a social media content to it where you can chat, post, like, and comment. And it's inside your company, not out on Facebook. We have, and it has the time clock on it. It's got training modules. It's got goals. Everyone's goal is on there, so I can see everybody's goals. And I will use the goals that were set last year in next year's meeting to talk about everybody's goals this year. Did we accomplish last year? If not, why didn't we? How can we help you do that? Culture stuff. We have our scripting app that we use on Stonely. If you don't have a scripting app, use Stonely. I can give you a copy of mine for that. It's online. As a matter of fact, you can just go to masterservices.com, and I believe it is call-center-script is what you put in there. And I will just Google that here real quick to give you the exact thing. So if you want to look at my scripting, you can. And it's masterservices.com /call-center-script. You can see our script. It's not. I mean, please don't abuse it too much. You can look through it. Um, I do get charged for how many people view it, but I don't think we even come close to the viewers what we pay for to look at it. But so there's a scripting. There's that. That's that. Um, I'm trying to think of what we have. Um, Let me look at some other stuff we do. We have Monday.com. That's where I put all the leadership stuff on, the management projects. And the thing about Monday.com is if you as an owner don't manage it, they're not going to do it. And so like during the summer, we got away from Monday.com. And then it wasn't until after I got out of COVID, I realized, hey, nobody's utilizing Monday.com. So I started utilizing it again because I was as guilty as they were. Hence, I was also in the hospital. Um, and now I just went on here right now, and I see one, two, three new things in the last week that I did not put on there. They are using the system, and so the idea of what you're gonna do to leave your company, and I don't mean leave it as in like you're not gonna be part of it anymore. You are gonna be part of it. It's just how are you gonna choose to be part of it? I chose to not deal with operations anymore or my employees as much, and I deal with management. Now, we did have a company meeting where everyone was blown away. A lot of the guys didn't know me, and on a break, some guys out in the smoking area, John went out there, and they all, from the employee standpoint, didn't know really who I was and was so impressed with us, but they didn't like the idea that I'm that I would tout that I don't know them. But the fact of the matter is, I the path that I personally am on outside of master services doesn't give me the path to go in there and really get to know them as like I probably should. So if you're gonna step away from operations, the one advice I would give you is stay in contact with your employees better than I do. Now we've gotten better with since we really been working the app on there, the Connect team on the chat. I go on there every day. I comment and like everybody's post, so they do have a better sense of me on there than they did before. But I do wish I went there more and shook their hands and talked to them more. Always a goal of mine to do it, but life gets in the way. My other businesses get in the way. But I will tell you, it's not because of the way I run my business, it's not that big of a negative for our company. It would definitely be a better positive if I did go there more, and I should. I totally self-recognize it. But you know what? Like in the mixed group, these people are telling me that I should go there more, and they're not wrong. But the fact of the matter is the way I run my company and the way I choose to do it, it has not been a problem, especially since I've been able to interact with them socially on our on our Connect Team app. So that's my advice to you. So if you are looking to hand it over to a general manager and not be part of it, you're not really going away. You're not going to your cabin and living. You're not going to step off forever. You just got to choose that what I'm not going to do. You're not going to deal with customers. That's what your GM is going to do. Now this is my knots. You do what you want to do. If you like dealing with customers, you're the better customer guy. And like with us, we don't have to deal with a lot of customers. So I mean, I could do that. I just choose not to because I'm not dealing with the workers, because that always brings you into, okay, now if I deal with customers, now I got to deal with the crew or I got to deal with the educator. So I don't do that. If you want to, great. But my don'ts are I'm not dealing with my employees and I'm not dealing with my customers. I deal with high level management, job costing, big stuff with the management, the leadership training, the training for the employees that we offer, and I deal with the numbers. And I manage the numbers through the management, telling them what we have, where we're at, and where we're going. And that's how I do it. Now I put the right guy in place, and then in a sense, then we've added 3 managers to help him. We always had a call center manager, but we never really had anything else. So when John took over, he had my mom and my wife as call center managers, which of course my wife and my mom needed no assistance from John, so he did not have to deal with the call center. Well, since then, we've got a call center manager. John does have to deal with that a little bit, but I will tell you, we have Gina now. Her and her twin sister is just a worker, but Gina has a twin sister that's identical, and that's funny. They sit right next to each other. If you didn't know what Gina was, they both sound and look identical. But I will tell you, I have, and John has zero issues with the call center. Every once in a while, we got to get on them and make sure they stay on script. But I will tell you, there's no drama in my company, and drama always starts from the call center. And the call center, it tends to. We have none. We have no drama out in the field, and we have no drama out in the sales division. And we make sure that we have no drama. But anyway, we now, since we've grown, we'll be close to 4 million this year. I think we're going to be just shy of it. Sorry, trying to get my voicemail talk. We'll be just shy of 4 million this year. I know we're going to hit 5 million next year. The idea of I have an assistant general manager, Brian. I have Cody as a sales manager, and then I have Gina as the call center manager, and then I actually have Rory as a roving shop guy out in the field for that kind of stuff. And so, anyway, so my path to not running the company was one good guy who knew everything I knew when it came to running the company. And then he could call me. And by the way, when I did leave, it was only John call me. And of course, my wife still running the call center and my mom, they would still call me, but that was a rare phone call. Plus my wife would come home and talk to me a little bit about stuff if needed, but she really was good at leaving work at work. So really, that's how I did it and where I'm at today. I still work at my company. I'm like Charlie and Charlie's Angels when it comes to, I'm in the back end doing stuff, running the show, but I'm just not there to deal with someone not showing up or hiring guys. I do take hiring ads out though and help with that aspect, but I don't do the hiring. I don't do any of that stuff. It's all on them. And we're running our company very well. I mean, in 2021, the second half of 2021 has been the best year we've ever had. And I know everyone's having that year, but there's a difference the way we're having a better year than everybody else. Why they're having a better year. We're having a better year because our process and training has been up so much since April that even our average educators or our subpar educators are still selling enough to break records. That's how good and leap in advancement forward we have done. So I would suggest, and I guess it's something to talk about here. The training of a sweep / estimator inspector is something that we never had that great of deal. And I know when you talk to some of these bigger, there was that post out there. I think Alan Rush put it out there a few months ago. How long before you let an educator go out on his own? And I said 6 weeks. And me and Alan kind of, went back and forth, sparred a little bit on that. Well, in the South, we're not dealing with a lot of the stuff that boilers and all this. We don't see any of that stuff. And so, we have pretty easy chimney company. We added masonry. And so for our guys to go out and work as an inspector 6 weeks and then they continue in training, they don't get let go. Everything has to still be seen through. Cody has to approve every bid and every inspection before they go in there to present it. And they have to do that until Cody feels comfortable that they're alone and good enough to do it alone. And so they go through the 6 week training. They're probably still on that another month. So they're really in training, but they're not mirroring anybody or having someone watch over their shoulder personally for probably 2.5, 3 months. So that process, but you got to get that process going and hiring people to get people out there to do easy work or whatever. I mean, I'm gonna get on a whole nother subject here on training, but that was something that it really, really was a new thing for us to hire more educators than we ever had, put them through a longer training process, and it has really paid off for us. Which, you know, when you're running good money, it makes it easier to manage. It's kind of funny. I saw another post that happened this weekend was on, I don't remember, I think it was on Chief Professional. How many, does anyone here run a 10 plus truck company? And all of these people coming in there and giving their opinions on, well, you should be really concentrating on, each educator you have, or so we train them up, and blah blah blah, and it's like all these assumptions and opinions coming out on how to run a company and how staying small was a better way to run a company, when that's not what the guy asked. And nobody asked for their opinions, and they're out flying out all these opinions. And the fact of the matter is, and I think then, of course, I mentioned him now again, one of our sponsors, Alan Rush, he came on there either before or after me, I don't know when I had my own comment, was actually running a bigger company when it's running in full blast is easier to run than a smaller company. Totally agree. I've been the guy out in the truck trying to run 2 or 3 other trucks, having your wife answer the phone, and I will tell you, it is much easier to run a big company when you're not in the field than it is to be in the field and still run your company. It is, I'm telling you from experience, and everybody listening to this, if you, it's me and Mark Stoners, and a couple other guys out there really preaching how to do this. The faster you can get out of a truck, before you go to hand it off, the faster you can get out of a truck and manage your business, your life will be much easier and better to run your business. I promise. You will actually accidentally scale from running your business now instead of your business running you. Overdone phrase, but it is so true. And why do Mark and I and some of these other guys and Alan even preach this? Why? Because we've lived it. We know what it is like to not run your company or be a truck and be able to run your company. I mean, like I said, I don't run the operations yet. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. My company had sales growth. We made 60 grand profit that month, and a month we normally lose 30,000. I had literally a $90,000 swing this year, and I wasn't even a phone call that whole month, almost. One phone call. So what's the difference? That's the difference. Getting your business to run without you, or at least running with you at a high level, running the business and not being run by the business. So that's my take, guys. So that's how I did it. I hope that was informative enough for you on giving you some guidance on what you could do to actually hire a general manager, or at least possibly step out of your business and run your business. So guys, thank you so much, and have a great week.